I wake again. I wake again. I pray the Lord that now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord that I wake again. I wake again. I pray the Lord that I wake again.
Welcome to Dinner with the Coaches. I am your host, Nadira Lewis, and I have my amazing visionary co-host over here next to me, Mr. Thomas Taylor III. How are you?
Simply marvelous, simply marvelous. Let's go. Brand new year. Happy New Year.
Yes, Happy New Year. Yes, this is our first live recording in the 2023 year. So I'm excited. I look forward to all the wonderful things that we're going to do here with Dinner with the Coaches. If you are watching us via YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button so that you can be notified every time we upload a new video. If you are watching us via Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or TikTok, make sure you click like and share if you are loving and enjoying the coaching that you are seeing here on Dinner with the Coaches. It is 2023, Thomas, and we've got some amazing things planned for Dinner with the Coaches for not only just us, but for our guests that are here also. So you want to go ahead and talk to them about our guests today?
Yeah, definitely. Well, hey, good evening, everybody. Thank you guys for spending some time with us. We was on a little hiatus, but we're back. Ready to go. Brand new year, a lot of energy, a lot of excitement.
Yes.
So today we're actually going to have a guest by the name of David Jeter. Awesome brother, wealth of information. He has business is called The Next Steps, right? Where he does consulting as well as executive coaching. So that's what we're going to kind of get into this evening, you guys, is the value of coaching. At the top of the year, we're going to dig right in and really, hone in on the value of having a coach.
Definitely. So if you are watching us, make sure you engage with us. Put in the comments. Let us know where you're watching from. And we would love to hear your comments. If you have any questions for any of the panel on Dinner with the Coaches, make sure you put it in the comments and we'll be sure to get to your questions. We're going to go ahead and play this quick video. And then the next person alongside of us, you will see is that of our special guest, David Jeter. We'll be back after this.
I want you to remember that God's created everything you see. He breathed it into existence. You remember when his people were caught up in slavery? He rescued them. What he did was he parted the sea and he made a way for them, and then he delivered their enemies to them, and he unlocks wombs, and he provides water from a rock, and he provides manna from heaven, and he brought down the walls of Jericho. He froze the sun, allowing victory. He's toppled giants with tiny stones. He's brought fire from heaven. He's shut the mouths of lions. He preserved life in the belly of a well. He's fed thousands with a few loaves. He gives the weak strength. He heals the sick. He's made the blind see, the deaf hear, the mute speak, the lame walk, and he's overcome evil, and he's made a way through death for you and me by the death and the resurrection of his son, Jesus Christ, that we will live with him forever. We will dwell in the house of the Lord forever and ever and ever and ever. What are we afraid of? His resume is flawless. He controls everything. And he loves you.
And we are back here with Dinner with the Coaches. And we are glad that you are joining us in the 2020 year, and 2023 year here at Dinner with the Coaches. Thomas, did you want to go ahead and introduce our guest today?
Yes, of course, of course. Like I stated earlier, we have the wonderful pleasure of speaking with a good friend of mine, Mr. David Jeter, right? He's the president and CEO of The Next Steps, right? A lot of good information. He does consulting as well as executive business coaching. And this evening, we're going to touch on the value of coaching, right? Why not speak to somebody who has a lot of experience in that can help our listening audience? So, Jeter, good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. Thanks for having me. Before we dig in, I think, Brother Thomas, I think it might be safe to say that we should spend a few seconds just to talk about what is executive coaching, because right now it's such a loosely used term, and we have so many people that are offering or have labeled themselves as a coach, and a lot of which may not actually be qualified to be doing what they say they are doing. And that sometimes puts a dark shadow over the process of coaching. So what coaching is not, is it is not therapy. It is not us just giving you a cookie cutter solution for the challenges that you have in your business. It is not a friendship to where we come in and we want to sugarcoat to be able to be liked by the clients. But what coaching is an opportunity to look deep inside, have an accountability partner with someone that you can trust. You trust their knowledge, you trust their abilities to help you take that next step in your business so that you can achieve the goals that you want. We hold you accountable. We utilize tools such as the DISC assessment to get a better insight who the client is, how they operate in a leadership or a management role. And coaching is designed to help build a bridge with the client to get from their current state to their desired state. We know where we are right now, but where we would like to be is that desired state. And so the coaching process comes in and it helps you to do the heavy lifting to figure out how do we build a bridge from the current state to that desired state. There's a huge difference between life coaching and executive coaching. So what I provide a client as an executive coach is I'm actually looking at the mindsets and the behavior of the person in that leadership role. We're identifying what behaviors and mindsets that it is that's hindering them from being able to achieve that desired state. You know, a lot of times people know that they're not where they want to be, but they don't grow up identifying the why. Why am I not there? And so that in itself is the value of bringing in an executive coach. We get to see things from a fresh perspective. We are there to be able to take hold of the challenges that you have. We identify to make sure that they are the true causes as to why your growth and your progress has been hindered. And then we agree upon what is that course of action to build that bridge to get from current state to desired state.
Yeah.
So it's very important that when someone says it, you know I need some help. I don't know where I need to start. I'm not sure what my challenges are. And they go out and they say, I want to go get me a coach. Well, I would recommend that you, number one, do your research on the coach. Number two, make sure that it is a executive coach or business coach that you actually need based on the challenges that you believe to be hindering you. Sometimes it ends up being that you need an actual life coach because you have to do some things in order on a personal level. Be very important, very, very careful not to end up with a coach that wants to be your therapist.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Two different things.
Totally different things.
Yeah.
On average, an executive coach is not licensed to be a therapist. We're not there to help you deal with personal trauma that may have happened over the course of your life or 6 months ago. We're not there for you to come on into a session and all you do is complain about what's not right. But we are there to help you say what's not right, What can we do about what's not right? And I'll tell you what, I'm going to walk this journey with you. I am going to own this with you so that you are not alone. So, most business owners don't actually have someone to be that sounding board. Most business owners do not have someone that will hold them accountable for the actions, the things that they say, the goals that they put in place to help them ensure that they are on the right path to achieving those goals. So it's important going into executive coaching is that one, make sure that you're ready for that journey. So what do I mean when I say make sure you're ready? Sometimes we need to hear things that we do not want to hear, but we need to hear. Sometimes we need someone to hold our hands and hold us accountable to say, hey, listen, last month you said we were going to work on situation X, but we have not even touched it. We haven't given it any energy. So the accountability piece is that executive coach that's saying, okay, let's stop for a moment. Let's pause. Let's pump the brakes. Let's look at what's really going on. What is it that we need to do to begin resolving whatever that challenge is? And we hold you accountable. A true coach will always hold you accountable to what you said you wanted to achieve. So that's why it's important that if you take on an executive coach, that you work with them closely to agree on what the objectives are, what are the goals. A coach should never take the reins and tell you what it is we are going to go after and what we're going to achieve. They work with you. It's your business. It's your dreams. It's your desires. It's your goals. So our job is to accompany you in helping you to achieve those things. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Awesome, man. Awesome. I took a couple of notes there, So that's interesting. So on that level, in terms of executive, how receptive are they to the counteracting of what they know, which is what got them there, right? So here you come in with a different philosophy, a different mindset, right? Like, are they immediately receptive, or does it take a while?
It depends on the individual. So when you utilize the tools such as the DISC assessment, it gives you that quick insight. It allows you to be able to hit the ground running in that very first session because you have an idea of how this person thinks from a leadership perspective. What is their management style? What is their personality style? So there are some very common traits across all personalities that we all possess. And we can identify, okay, this person is going to be a little bit more challenged to chip away at that wall that may initially exist. I have to earn their trust. And I earn their trust in a number of ways. One in particular is to show that I am qualified to be there to engage them at that level. Two is that I have to be a great listener. I have to really listen to what they are saying. But in addition to listening to what they are saying, I'm also listening to what they are not saying.
Yeah.
I'm observing body language. I'm listening to the tone in which they say something because that gives me additional insight to, hey, what's really going on? And that allows the conversational piece to be very dynamic. And I respond in a dynamic fashion based on what I'm receiving. There's no cookie cutter. I don't use a standardized template for all of my clients. That's not an ideal coach in my perspective because I need the solution to fit your situation. So my experience has been thus far, there's always those every now and then that comes about, and they're very skeptical about the coaching process because they feel that they know what they're doing. And they have to understand there's two different things that happen. If an individual says, I'm going out to get me an executive coach, that's one thing. But if their superiors say, I'd like to invest in you and hire an executive coach to work with you one-on-one, depending on how that's delivered to that individual determines the mindset, how they may come into it. Because by default, some may say, well, I must not be doing a good job. Why do I need a coach? Why would you go and do that? What's wrong? What am I not doing correctly? When in reality, a good leader will recognize that we need to invest in some of the members of our team. So it's really a positive that they recognize that and really want to help you become more successful. So you will have those that are skeptical in the beginning, and then my job is to gain their trust. Coaching doesn't work without trust.
Yeah.
If the individual doesn't trust your knowledge, if they don't trust you as a person, if they don't feel that the sessions are confidential, then you're going to have more than likely an unachieved desired result.
Yeah, and Adair always talk about, in a coaching spectrum, know, like, and trust, right? Anytime you deal with marketing and things of that nature, like, you really got to hit those 3 points. Adair always hammers that, understanding that aspect of when you're coaching, right? And it's a good point that you brought up, for those that are listening, like the difference between a coach versus a therapist, right? Why? Because when you really understand coaching is a future focused, goal orientated, process, right?
Absolutely.
That's what we're focusing on. We're focusing on the future. And it's interesting because, a lot of individuals look at coaching almost as you sitting on a couch or something. And, most people don't do couches. They just don't, right? Some people need to, but most people don't do couches, right? So I was telling them, hey, if you don't do a couch, you need to do a coach. But in their mind, they say, why would I hire a coach to tell me something I already know? Well, the challenge is you don't have somebody to hold you accountable for what you think you know. Because if you really knew what you think you know, you'd have did it already.
See, there's 2 versions of everyone, at least 2 versions. And what I mean by that, there's the version that we see when we look in the mirror. And if we had to define or describe ourselves, it's the version that we see. That's coming from internally. But the real question is, what is the version that people on the exterior are seeing and receiving from you? And that in itself, if we as a leader are not aware of what people are receiving from us, then we tend not to be as successful because we are operating under the pretense that we are showing up on the scene in a certain manner. But those that we are leading are saying, no, that's not what I'm getting. I'm getting something totally different. As a coach, some people may think it's an easy job, but it's not always easy to be able to be honest and transparent with your client and say, hey, Mr. Johnson, here's what I'm seeing consistently with you that is hindering your progress. So some coaches will go alone inside with the client. Our job is to challenge the client to think differently, to step outside of themselves and say, if I receive that statement from my superior, how would I process it? What would I take from it? What would I think? Do I believe that they are approachable? Do I believe that they operate from a stance of is their way or the highway? So our job can be quite challenging depending on who it is that we're dealing with. So we have to, as a coach, make sure that the person is ready for the process. You stated a moment ago, coaching is a process. It is not a microwave solution. I have clients, they typically commit to 6 months in the beginning because you're going to spend the first month or so really digging in and agreeing on what are the true challenges that you face. Because a lot of times an inexperienced coach will begin to attack the symptoms and not the actual problem. And that's how, if you have a coach that is effective at what they do, that's how you gain the ability to measure their performance. Because an employee is late to work. That's what we see and experience consistently. And so we naturally will say that's the problem. They're always late to work. But we need to peel back the layers of the onion and say, why? And that's when we'll find out what the problem is. The problem is not that they're always late to work. The problem may be a transportation issue. That employee may ride public transportation and say, hey, if I leave, if I get here, I'll catch the bus so that I can get here on time. That means I'm going to be here an hour early and I have to sit around and wait until time to clock in. So the problem is really the transportation schedule that is out of that employee's control. An easy solution would say, well, Mr. Johnson, instead of us scheduling you at 3:30, and you seem to be 10 to 15 minutes late every day. Why don't we schedule you to come in at 4 o'clock? So then we are addressing the actual problem. Okay. A coach will not or should not take on someone if they recognize and identifies that they really need therapy or counseling. That's not what we're here to do. So a lot of coaches will take your money. They may recognize that because it's all about the money. But if you love what you do and you love the people and you love seeing them progress and you want to be a part of helping them be able to take that next step, you do the right thing.
Wow,
yeah, it makes a difference.
It's a huge difference that most people go in because they've never had an executive coach or a leadership coach, and they think of it being as somebody that's going to be my friend along this journey, rather than someone that's going to push me out of my comfort zone, rather than someone that's going to ask me those difficult questions that I may have shied away from, rather than that somebody saying, well, hey, if this is a challenge, why don't we look at your entire team here so that we can see where we need to go next? What's the first step? What's the next step?
That's powerful. I think you said some really key things that I really want to emphasize, and that is being able to understand. I think it's important too for the coaches that you do seek out, that the coaches that are coaching are clear about their expertise in what transformations they're able to bring based on their experience or based on their coaching. Being able to have a clear understanding of the transformation that you can bring will help build the know, like, and trust. And I think that's where the disassessment is important, because the disassessment does a lot of the work, where they're not feeling like they're being antagonized. This is us using a tool to kind of help identify key factors that are in their life that may be hindering them from getting the results that they want. And I also like when you was talking about how they have to be able to be ready to deal with the issues that they're having problems with. I think that's the biggest thing and I think that's why Thomas and I, when we're coaching, there's questions that we ask. Some may call it intake questions, where we go through and find out if you're willing to commit to the process, because sometimes it's going to be messy. It's going to be direct. It's going to feel like you're being attacked. But if you're true to the process, then that means you're going to hang in there. And once we know that you're committed to the process, it's going to make us do our job a little bit easier, And so, yeah, I think that's one of the, and then you said something about being able to deal with the life issues, being an executive coach. Sometimes people are, especially trying to do business coaching, and there's some mindset shifts that need to take place. There's some things in their personal life that may be hindering their business, and that is one of the areas that I know all too well. If you don't have your mindset together, it doesn't matter what kind of business you run, it doesn't matter what endeavor that you're trying to go towards. If you don't take care of the issues pertaining to your life first, it will hinder you being able to operate in the business world.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sometimes we find ourselves as a coach shifting gears because we may go into what is better known as a mentor role. But before we make that transition, the reality is we're supposed to ask permission from the client, mentor. We have to let them know that we're about to change gears, because if we stayed in the coaching arena the entire time, it would be a series of questions. And every now and then we need to kind of help the client along the way to get that answer. And that's when we may step into a mentoring role from a temporary perspective, but we identify it and let the client know. And that could be something as simple as, okay, well, if this is a situation, what are your thoughts on if we tried to do this to resolve that matter? Or in the past, I've had clients to do A, B, and C. So essentially, I'm giving them options. I'm giving them answers to where they did not arrive at those answers on their own. But when I'm coaching, I'm constantly asking questions to get them to think, to get them to come up with the answer, because in so many cases, clients have the answers. It's just tucked away. And our job is to help them pull that answer out, to recognize that the solution was already there in some cases. And then there's a scenario where you do need assistance. A coach told me one time, he said, understand that most people do not get help until it hurts so bad that they can no longer tolerate it.
Wow.
That's when they go get help. You know, men in particular, there's a thing they say about men, you know, we won't go to the doctor until we can, if our foot is hurting, we won't go to the doctor until we can't put any weight on it. We've been walking around with this foot that's been hurting for the last 3 or 4 months. The time that we can't even stand on that foot, then we go to the doctor.
Yeah.
So as a business owner, your job is to always think about what's next. What are my needs? What is it going to take for me as a leader to grow this organization? So we should always be thinking about the what's next. We should be acting more proactively rather than reactive. Because what happens when it gets to a point to where the pain is unbearable, you want a microwave solution. And that is not what coaching is. Clients start out with a 6-month commitment. They start to see the results. And probably 8 out of every 10 clients renew for an additional 6 months, just to give an idea and to manage expectations. Because they may achieve some of the original objectives, and then along that journey, they say, oh, well, I want to now work on another set of objectives. So it's so important that we manage expectations when we go into these coaching relationships with clients, to say, this is a process that happens over the element of time. 30 days, and we've only met a couple of times in 30 days, you're more than likely not going to have that solution that you are looking for, because we haven't gone through the entire process.
So question, Gita, before we go to a commercial break and then come back and get a little deeper, when you get to the realization that they are receiving you from a business standpoint, and you're raising them in terms of the mindset to an executive level, do you ever come back and recommend that they get a life coach?
It depends on the individual. So early on in the relationship, we do take a quick glimpse as to what's happening with them on a personal level.
Okay.
And if they feel like they don't have a balance between the work and the life scenario, then I would recommend that, hey, why not consider getting you a life coach in addition to the executive side? Because I don't cross that line. I focus on what is it going to take for you to be more successful in the business arena, in your leadership roles, in you developing the team that supports you, your direct reports and so forth. That's where I'm going to focus. But if I see any evidence that you may need to consider a life coach because there isn't a balance, then by all means, I recommend such.
Yeah, gotcha. And we're glad you're on the show, because hopefully we'll be your first recommendation.
Show me the money. Isn't that what the movie said?
We got your back, sir. But hey, we're going to go to a commercial, and then we come back. We're going to dig a little bit deeper. We're going to dive into, now notice when you first start talking, you said accountability 5 times, right? So we're really going to kind of dig into that accountability, because I did a Facebook Live this morning, and I talked a little bit about accountability and how important accountability really is to our growth, our success, and then collapsing time to get to that desired place and or plateau that you really want to achieve. We're going to go to a commercial break. We're going to come back. We're going to get a little bit deeper.
All right.
We're back.
think I did a broadcast a couple of months ago, and I was saying how if you don't operate in your season, you're useless. So, and I gave the example of the fig tree, right? And I said that how Jesus cursed the fig tree because it was time.
IBG Careers is looking for customer service representatives needed to service their customers from home. If you're interested, please apply at www.ibgcareers.com.
Let's work. Yo, it's go time, showtime, never backing down time. One shot, yo, make it count, yo. Crunch time, shine time, make this moment my time.
I've done some terrible things in my life.
Some of them I chose to do.
And I own these choices.
But others, I just feel like I was swept up in a series of circumstances that didn't involve my will.
They just sort of happened to me.
I've become the culmination of those choices and circumstances.
So I guess I just need to say it.
I really need some help.
Hi, I'm Nadira Lewis, author, life, and business coach, and founder of the Becoming a Woman of Proverbs Wisdom Academy. I help women take their life experiences and turn them into life lessons. I also believe that just like hurt people, transform people can transform people too. Make sure you book a call with me at www.womanofproverbscoaching.com, and I'll see you on the other side of victory.
And we are back here at Dinner with the Coaches with our special guest, David Jeter. Welcome back. If you have missed out on the first half, make sure you go back and watch the replay and hit hashtag replay. I want to take some time before Thomas introduces us to the second half of our segment. I want to take some time to acknowledge some of our comments and engagement that we have been getting from our audience. From Polo. Polo says, great point, Jeter. Thank you so much for watching. If you have not clicked on the link to give Facebook and StreamYard permission to access your comments or access your Facebook, we will see your comments, but we will not be able to acknowledge you. So make sure that you click on the link that says give Facebook and StreamYard permission so that we can acknowledge you also. We also have another Facebook user that says that is true. We have another Facebook user that says that is why I tell my group to test yourself to see where you are and where you stand in any situation. We have another Facebook user that says sometimes it's when they fall back into that mindset that they were before after 6 months. So thank you so much for watching. We enjoy the engagement. Make sure you give StreamYard and Facebook access so that we can acknowledge you. Go ahead, Thomas, and introduce us to the second half.
Yeah. That's a great segue because I'm going to piggyback right off of that, quote unquote, after 6 months in terms of, you mentioned accountability, like I said, 5 times. So what are the tools that you use? I know we heard you mention the DISC assessment, right, as well as coaching. Are there other tools that you utilize to hold them accountable and or methodologies for the accountability piece?
Absolutely. The key thing is to keep it simple because typically when you're coaching someone, they have a lot of things on their plate that they're trying to juggle, especially if they're already in a management or leadership role.
Yeah.
So in addition to that, you're saying, oh, so you want to give me homework and you want me to think about this and I need to go research this. So I keep it as simple can be. I have a portal that all of my clients are attached to, and it will actually send out reminders. So if they have something that they're responsible for and it has a due date, by the way, you can't practice accountability if you don't attach dates to them. Because if someone says they want to achieve X, the question from a coach should be by when? When do you want to have X achieved? And then you attach that date to it. Well, if that date is 2 weeks out, for example, after week 1, they're going to get a notification, whether it's a text message, an email, or a telephone call that says, hey, what's the status of your homework assignment that's due next week? Do you need any assistance? Anything that I can do to assist you in this? If you have any questions, give me a call. Do we need to have a quick impromptu session to make sure that you're on course? And most of the times, especially in the beginning stages of a coaching relationship, people are so grateful that they receive that reminder.
Yeah.
As a coach, we have a lot of hats that we wear, but we want to keep it as simple and as painless as possible to get the client to transition into being held accountable. Some people are willing to be held accountable, but that approach makes a world of difference. So if you say you want to achieve X and you want me to hold you accountable, that doesn't mean that I'm going to call and belittle you or be condescending in talking to you about why this has not been achieved. We're going to talk about, in an accountability perspective, we're going to say, okay, well, what is the reason you were not able to achieve mission X?
Yeah.
And now I want you to think about what can you do differently so that on our new goal date, you will be able to achieve.
Yeah. Like roadblocks.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we cannot discount the fact that you're taking a client through something new.
Yeah.
They've never gone through the process of being coached. They may be the sharpest employee. They may have been successful up until the point. There's a book that says what got you here won't get you there.
Wow.
And so when we come in as that coach, we're talking about what else is going to be necessary to get you there. And the accountability piece, if we keep it simple, I have had great success in doing just that rather than complicating it. So to answer your question specifically, I use text messages depending on who the user is. Some people prefer utilizing texting. So that's the vehicle that I'll use to remind them and to stay on them, to hold them accountable. Some people say I prefer email, or some people say, just give me a call. And in some cases, I use a combination. It just depends on who the actual client is. I have to make it fit the client.
Yeah.
It's not a one size fits all. Okay.
Yeah, that's good, especially that portal scenario, man. That's real clever because, of course, life is gonna happen, roadblocks are gonna happen, like things are gonna come up. I mean, that's just natural. Like nobody is exclusive, for life, right? You don't get a pass from life because you decide to, make a goal or you want to do something different. Life doesn't say, okay, well, I'm just gonna be over here until you get ready for me. Nah, life will show up regardless of the situation. Right.
Absolutely.
So that's good to share with our listening audience, things that you utilize to keep individuals on track, to do what they said that they wanted to do, to accomplish what they said they want to accomplish. Not what Gina said. No, this is what you said you wanted to accomplish. Yeah,
So,
that's good stuff.
When you mentioned one of the Facebook users said, keeping the people on track because sometimes they'll resort back to their old behaviors and mindset. And so we all agree that the accountability piece is what helps keep them on track. We as leaders and as executives and managers, we should never stop working towards self-improvement. How do we become more effective? Because if we're growing and coming up through an organization, if we are an entrepreneur and we want our business to grow, guess what? You recognize how much you do not know when you learn something new. That's when you recognize how much I don't know.
Yeah.
Because somebody introduces you to something else. So they say, hey, consider the following. And how do I hold you accountable? How do I go about holding you accountable? Most subordinates are afraid to hold their superiors accountable. So we don't just look at that individual leader, we look at their team. We get feedback from their team because they're going to be the ones that can give us insight that leader may not give us.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
That's that 360 evaluation.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. You can't exclusively develop a leader
Yeah.
without understanding what their followers are receiving from that leader.
Mhm. Now,
Wow.
in any event that a client renews with you another 6 months, do you ever after that, let's say after the second 6 months, do you ever put them on like a retainer, just like a spot check, refresher,
Absolutely.
to kind of see how they doing, see how they going, and make sure that they're maintaining?
Absolutely. So there's two different routes that I take with clients, depending on the individual client and what their preference is. So typically,
Okay,
some clients, we do what we call a quarterly checkup,
gotcha.
and that's a flat rate, and we may spend up to 2 hours in that session. And during that session, they can bring anything to that session that they want. If they find some of their behaviors are starting, some of their old behaviors or mindsets are
Hmm.
starting to resurface, they
Yes,
can
sir.
share with me what the challenge is and say, I've been trying to do what I did before,
Hmm.
but I'm not getting the same end result.
Gotcha.
And then any client that has completed what their initial agreement was, they are always welcome to schedule time and we can do an hourly rate with them.
Mm.
But I
Mm.
always make sure that I have that availability for any clients that have gone through any programs that I may offer
Yeah.
or have committed to long-term coaching.
Yep.
Mm.
Yeah. I'm hoping everybody's paying attention to that because that's key, right? Why? Because we're all creatures of habit, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
Right.
And when we put our mind to accomplish a goal, right? Typically, I've never met a man or a woman who never rose to a challenge, right? Like when
Mm.
when you lay out a challenge, people usually rise to that challenge. But then there's a portion sometimes where that creature of habit behavior will start to
Mhm.
kick in if there's nobody
Mm.
making sure that they stay on the
Mm.
same path, because those same things that they kind of moved away from, well, how far did they put it back, right? Well,
Mm.
is it far enough where they can't reach it, or is it right there and they just kind of lean into it, and then next thing you know, they're kind of right back with those same particular behaviors.
Mhm.
So that was key. Nadira?
I also think too, an important thing to note too is that helping them become accountable using the tools and strategies, technology plays a really important role because now it makes it a lot easier for them when you use different technologies like the texting. There's so many different apps, community apps, to make it easier for them to interact and be more accountable, because it's not like before where everything, like, not everybody may want a phone call. Some coaching may not require you to be on the phone with them all the time. Some coaching may be, after you've gotten something structured, you may be able to do some things via text message or group texting. So I definitely would just say, technology plays a very important role, especially nowadays, where we can actually, assist them in, accommodating their, and becoming more accountable with their coaching directions that we give them or assessments that we give them.
Mhm. I would say this, as an effective coach, we have to identify what works best for that client
Yeah.
Right, right,
that
right.
we're
I
considering, that we're
agree.
interacting with, because sometimes we need a phone call. And the reason I say that is earlier I stated that we can listen to what's not being said. We can
Hmm.
listen to the tone. You can ask someone, how's it going today? And that you can get different answers. You can get, oh, today has been a great day. Or you can get, yeah, everything's going all right. That is a sign right there for me to dig deeper. So what do you mean when you say all right? Because the way you said all right kind of gives me an idea that there may be a little bit more going on. And 9 times out of 10, they say, well, it's been kind of crazy today.
Yeah.
Showed up today, 2 of my employees called in. We're trying to figure it out. We've got a full schedule today, and I'm running like crazy. Now you just hit a home run.
Mm.
Hmm.
Now
Yeah.
you're showing the value of having that coach, because I'm listening to what wasn't said. I'm listening
Mhm.
to your tone, at which point in time I can give you those encouraging words. I can ask
Mm.
you or get you to think about, it's not as bad as you think that it is. So
Mm.
what about maybe taking
Yeah.
a shift over here and do X, or try this right here? Take a moment, step back from the situation, take you 5 minutes and just breathe.
Mm.
Ask yourself, how can we avoid this in the future? Has this been an employee that has shown us a pattern of not being reliable and consistent? So I'm
Mm.
saying that to say we have to learn to be as
Mhm.
effective as we can, and that includes a collection of technology, because those are the
Yes.
times that we're living in,
Yeah.
and the old school, what I call just pick up the phone and talk to someone. You
Mm.
think about sometimes you have a conversation with someone by way of text. We may have 10 different exchanges, of which we probably could have taken care in a 30-second or 1-minute call.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Now you said something that I keyed in on there though. So what's your ratio to on-site versus virtual, right? Because it sounds like that on-site presence, you can see an individual's body language, right? You
Yes,
can listen to their tone, right?
yes.
You can
Mhm.
see their demeanor. Sometimes you can't, see all that maybe over Zoom, or definitely can't see it over a phone call. So like, what's your ratio to on-site versus virtual?
So typically my clients we may meet 4 times a month, and we split that
Okay.
down the middle, 2 in person and 2 by way of Zoom. And when we're doing Zoom, it gives me that opportunity to still see. Number one, I like to
Hmm.
make sure that clients are not distracted,
Mm.
because if they are not looking into the camera, if I can see them constantly turning their head, maybe an employee is trying to talk to them, then we have to hit pause.
Yeah.
I literally will ask them, "Hey, do we need to reschedule? Do you have something that's very pressing that needs your attention?" Because if they're in a leadership role, things happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I respect that. And again, the value of having a coach that recognizes that life doesn't stop happening just because you're in your session at that time. You know?
Life don't care about that.
No, no, it doesn't ask your permission
That's
to happen.
facts.
Right. So my ratio is typically 50-50. So I have
50-50.
been,
Gotcha.
because I love people and I love that being in their presence, feeling their energy. Um, I had to learn to begin to incorporate the Zoom sessions as part of it.
Yeah.
So it makes it a lot more convenient for some clients, depending on if they have one of those very fast-paced uh, work environments.
Days. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming
Yeah.
all of your clients are mostly local clients then. You service mostly local clients since you're doing more face-to-face, or do you have clients that travel from different
Right
states
now,
to
all of my clients are local in the Atlanta and
Okay.
surrounding areas. So that can
Okay.
be as far north as we would say Ackworth, Georgia, Kennesaw, Georgia, to as far
Mhm.
south as Hampton and McDonough, Georgia. So at Griffin, Riverdale, as far as east as Covington, and as
Mhm.
far west as Douglasville. So the Atlanta and surrounding areas is where my target market is. However, this year I am definitely promoting that you do not have to be local if you are fine with doing sessions by way of Zoom.
Now, do you have a physical location where your clients where you're doing your on-site coaching? Is there a physical location where
I,
where some
I used to have a physical location and found that it was a
Mhm.
tremendous waste of revenue, waste of dollars. Here's why I say that. It is so much easier to meet the client in their environment because they don't lose the travel time. If they
Mm.
leave 15 minutes late, that means that guess what? They're going to show up at our session 15 minutes late, which is going to throw the remainder of my schedule for that
Mhm.
day off, at least
Mhm.
by
Mm.
15 minutes. And I have to tell another client, well, we're going to be behind, which means I potentially impact their schedule. So after
Gotcha.
about 6 months, I recognize, it's best to meet the
Mhm.
clients where they are. Sometimes that can be challenging depending on what type of distractions they may have in their environment. So we typically uh, identify a safe place within their environment to where employees know that if
Mhm.
they are in this room, that right now do not
Mhm.
disturb. So we have to help
Gotcha.
them be able to do that. But long story short, after about 6 months of paying the lease to have clients come to me, and in Atlanta, traffic can be so unpredictable.
Oh,
So even if they
God.
leave on time, they may still get there late because of
Mhm.
traffic. So I
Yeah.
stopped doing,
Mm.
you come to me, I'll come to you.
Mm.
Mhm. Yeah, that's good. That's good stuff because now you control the narrative now,
Yes.
you know?
Mhm.
Yeah. It makes a
Absolutely.
difference. And it also gives them that personal touch, right? Like everybody always wants to feel special, unique, a little bit different. You know, you give that personal touch, which is awesome, you know?
Yes. We have to
Yes,
make
and I
sure
also,
that we have to make sure that we design our solutions specific to the client, to
Yeah.
that
right.
client. You can have two clients with the same group of challenges, but because client A has a totally different approach, mindset, and personality than client B, it's not a cookie cutter solution. How
Mhm.
quickly do we dig in? What's the pace that we go at with client A versus client B? And an
Hmm.
experienced coach will recognize I can't do the same thing for every client in
Hmm.
the same manner.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. And I want to also acknowledge Ramses B, who also responded and agree with the fact that cookie cutter mentorship does not help and that it is a great point. Thank you so much for responding, Ramses.
Yeah. That makes a huge difference, Gita. You know, do you in
Hmm.
terms of pricing, like do you talk to them about that and add a extra, a little bit more because you come to them once you
It depends
change
on their
that philosophy?
location.
Okay.
Depends on the location because you have to understand that here in Atlanta, you can still be considered Atlanta, and you may be 50 miles
Yeah,
outside of
hour away.
the center point of Atlanta. So
Yes.
it
Yes.
depends.
Oh my God.
If I'm
That's a
spending an
fact.
hour on the
Everywhere is
road,
at least
That's
45
a
minutes to an
fact,
hour
man.
away. Just about everywhere from Atlanta is about
That is a
45
fact.
minutes to an
yes,
hour.
yes. So typically, I haven't been in a scenario to where I do have to charge a trip charge to come and provide services for them.
Mhm.
You said you haven't?
Have not.
Have
Have not.
not. Okay. It's pending though.
I will tell you this. I have been surprised at the response of clients being willing to do remote sessions. I was
Mm.
very impressed
Yeah,
with just how many
yeah,
people are willing to embrace the technology
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
not
Yeah.
be in our
Yeah.
space.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, COVID forced everybody's hand,
Yeah.
and it's still
Absolutely.
forcing
Definitely.
everybody's hand. Like you,
Definitely.
Absolutely.
you know, you don't have to, really understand it or accept it because it's here, right? So you need to make those provisions.
Mhm.
You know,
Definitely.
yeah,
Definitely.
different employees at one point they refused, remote working until COVID knocked on the door. Once COVID knocked, man, they was passing out laptops like a deck of cards, boy.
And of course, didn't keep the laptop in.
Yeah, yeah, boy.
He said like
Don't
a
come back
deck of
here.
cards.
I don't care if you go to Starbucks, the Starbucks coffee house, the library. You can't come back here. So that's all right though. That's cool. That's good. Well, that's good stuff. Well, it looks like that, the executive side is really, really, working. Are you planning on expanding your business this year?
Well, this year I want to make sure that I'm focusing on the client base that really understands the value of coaching as well as
Okay.
consulting. So the quick differentiator between the two is the coaching is designed to focus on an individual and to help
Okay.
develop and to craft their skills to achieve their goals. The consulting is strictly focused on the business. What are the pain points in the business? What is
Mm.
going on in my business that I might not be aware of? And so I
Hmm.
come in that capacity and say, well, let's look at processes and procedures. Let's look at
Mm.
the people on your team because you may have a team of highly qualified individuals, but they may not work well together. So let's talk about how do we get this team to be more effective? How do we increase continuity amongst the team? You can have the goal is to get the right people on the bus in the right places on the bus and get the wrong
Hmm.
people off the bus. A lot of times
Okay.
business owners and leaders will say, well, you know what? We may not, we may need to replace the bus. When in reality, sometimes we only need to replace the driver and the members
Yeah.
on the bus.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's good.
We got to really think about what's happening. And so when you bring in a consultant
Yeah.
and a coach or a coach, they get to look at it with a fresh set of eyes and they get to look at it constructively. They have no emotional attachment to the scenario. So they can be very constructive and start to ask the difficult questions and bring to your light what they see. When I come in and I see that this person over here is not a team player, they have no desire to be a team player.
Wow.
When I see this person over here has great skills, but they're not in the right position on the team.
Wow.
It's no difference in a sports team. They spend tons of money analyzing. Do we have the right player in the right position on the team?
Wow.
And so when we come back full circle 360 and talk about the accountability piece, one of the biggest challenges I've identified with most leaders that I am coaching is that they want to be held accountable. But when it comes to the human element, I don't have the right person on my team. I may need to replace them. I need to move around on the team. That's where the biggest fears come in.
Yeah, I would imagine.
So again, it all comes together with that accountability piece. And we have to identify, are we getting coaching or do we need consulting or do we need both? And what tends to happen, we may start out with one and then the ownership or the stakeholders recognize I really need both.
So let me ask you something. Why don't you explain to our audience that may be familiar with the term consulting, but don't really know the difference between consulting and coaching? Help our audience explain the difference.
Okay, so a consultant is someone that comes in and they look at what's happening specifically with your business. They begin to ask questions with all the members on your team, or at least a good sampling of your members. You've got 35 employees. We may talk to a good 5 or 10 employees in different areas of the business. Then we make recommendations. There are two types of consultants. One consultant may actually come in and all they will do is provide you insight based on the information that they have gathered. The second type of consultant will also assist in executing solutions to address the challenges within your business. So you want to make sure that you understand what the deliverables are from a consultant when you decide to bring one in. A consultant does not have to be a subject matter expert. Let me say that again. They do not have to be a subject matter expert, meaning if your business is in construction, the same fundamentals of running a successful business is the same regardless of your industry. Now, if you have a group of challenges that are specific to construction, then by all means, you want a subject matter expert in that part. But if you know that operationally things are not sound, that consultant does not have to be a subject matter expert. So now the second part of your question, specifically, what is coaching? We're targeting it and looking at the leadership. We're looking at the people. We're making sure the people have the skill sets that they need from a leadership perspective, from being effective. How well do they communicate? Where are they falling short in terms of being successful and effective? And we help them develop those skills. We're looking at them to say, what is your mindset and why are you not progressing and achieving the goals? So that's the coaching piece. Coaching is more on the person. Consulting is more on the business.
All right. So you guys are there. Those that have had some questions about the difference, there you have it. Coaching is for personal and consulting is more geared towards business. And we have two different types of consulting that David has went over with us. We are also taking questions. If you have any questions for any of the coaches here on the panel, make sure you put it in the comments and we'll be glad to go over them with you. I also want to acknowledge Milton Knight for engaging with us. Thank you so much, Milton, for engaging with us. Thomas?
Hey, we at the top of the hour already, you guys. And we were just getting started, boy. People versus the business, right? Like Peter was just starting to get warmed up, So hey, we wanna thank you for spending, an hour, 60 minutes of your time with us. It was valuable information. I took notes because I always take notes because I always taught that, the shortest pencil is longer than the longest memory. So write it down. So I follow that process and I write it down.
That's good.
Dropping nuggets over there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But hey, Gina, just let our listening audience know where they can follow you, how they can reach you if they have more questions, or if they want to follow you in terms of what you're doing, and or if they want to be a client. So it's up to
the
you.
easiest way for you to get a hold of me is to go to tnsatl.com. There is a button to where you can actually sign up for a free half-hour consultation. Costs you absolutely nothing. You can find me on Facebook at The Next Steps LLC. I'm also on LinkedIn under The Next Steps. Also on LinkedIn as David Jeter TNS, which is short for The Next Steps. But the best way, www.tnsatl.com. Click on the button that says free consultation, 30 minutes.
Cool. Awesome. Great job. All right, Mr. Nadira, it's on you. Great job.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much to our special guest, David Jeter, for joining us here on Dinner with the Coach. We appreciate your expertise and your knowledge that you have brought here to Dinner with the Coaches and to our listening audience. If you are watching or have been watching us, make sure if you're watching for the replay, make sure you put #replay and engage with us. We will still be available to engage with you even after the broadcast. Thank you so much for watching. If you need one-on-one coaching, me and Thomas are here to be able to coach you in the area of your life and business. You can also reach us on Facebook at the @handle Dinner with Coaches. And you can reach Thomas and I individually on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all the social media sites you can reach us on. Thank you so much for all of those that have followed Dinner with the Coaches for the past 2 years. We have been going strong, and we're excited and looking forward to what 2023 has to do for us. Again, if you need coaching, just reach out to us and we'll be more than happy to get you from destination A to destination B. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have an amazing week. We'll see you next time.
I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord that I wake again. I wake again. I pray the Lord that I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord that I wake again. I wake again. I pray the Lord that I wake again.